Cools, Matt, ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel, and welcome to the ESC United. Welcome back, I should say, expert panel where the team is discussing the songs that were slated to go to Eurovision 2020. We'll share thoughts, and then we're going to talk about the scores, of course, as well, which I'm sure you're dying to find out. I'm here today with Connor, James, and Sean, and the four of us will discuss Sweden next. So the Mamas won Melodifestivalen by one lousy point, but that was enough, and the song that they performed was Move. The question is, gotta bring in my puns, did it move us? Connor, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Well,
I have to.
The answer would be yes for me, but before I get there, I do want to talk about why this entry is so important. Number one, this is the first group that Sweden has sent to the contest since 2007. So 13 years of solo acts, and now we get the first kind of ensemble. The second thing is that this is the first female representative, and in this case representatives, to come into the contest since 2014 when Sonja Nielsen was there. So this was not only a really important switch for Sweden, who tend to favor male acts, it's the first time that they've sent a group of females to Eurovision for a while. And I know that there was, in Melfest this year, there was kind of two different troops. There was the troop that loved the Mamas, and there's the troop that really wanted Daughter to win. And I cannot fault either group for their opinion. But I think that this song was built more for Eurovision than the other one was. Number one, it has that kind of soul gospel vibe that we know does really well at Eurovision lately. When you look at Sweden of last year and Austria with 2018, it's clear that the juries love it, so you might as well pander to them. But in comparison to those songs, I think this was done better because it's more radio friendly, this song. I think it's more accessible to the fans. And I think that this is the first song since Måns came in 2015 where I would have been okay with Sweden coming top 5. I think that a lot of other songs that they've sent have gotten really fortunate. I think this is a song that would have pulled from the problem they've been having lately, which is popular vote with the jury, popular vote with the actual public.
No, that is true. That is, and I will not have you go before me again because you took all of my thoughts here. That really is annoying, but you're absolutely right. And I think what you just pointed out is also the reason why I probably like that song, because Austria was probably my favorite in 2018, and Sweden was high up in my ranking as well last year. So I shouldn't come as a surprise that I'm a big fan actually of the Mamas this year as well. Interesting enough, Sweden in the 2010s, even though despite the discrepancy between juries and televotes, they owned the contest for the most part. They won twice, almost always in the top 10, yet there were only 3 songs that I actually really enjoyed from them last decade, right? It just, for some reason, their taste in music just didn't line up with mine. It was really weird, but to me, they're off to a great start in the 2020s at least, and I'm way into this. The 3 ladies are just, all of them individually are fantastic singers. There's not like a weak link in that group either. They're talented, and maybe we can see them even as solo artists in Melodifestivalen in the future. Not that I'm encouraging to break up. I'm just saying they're talented enough to actually do their own thing. I like the chemistry and stage presence. It was just so enjoyable to watch them perform. And it's a fun song. I like that kind of music. And yes, we all compared to last year's a little bit. But besides that obvious stuff that Connor pointed out, it's a very different song. And we need to stop it. You just, it's just a repeat from last year. It's not a repeat. There are certain genres that kind of, we happen, just because you send 2 pop songs, you don't complain about that either. It always just seems to non-pop songs where people call it a copycat, it seems. The song gives me energy. It is positive and has an empowering message. And nothing can stop me kind of song, and I'm all into that. I love it. The best part, obviously, when everybody moves like us. That's a great way to finish it. It is grand and epic, ends on a high note. I love it. Sweden, job well done, my opinion. So go ahead, James. What do you think?
I'm probably going to get into trouble for this one, but my one big problem with this song is the fact that it is a little too Swedish. They put too much of a Swedish pop pop twist on it. I prefer my soul pure and unadulterated, like from Detroit and Philadelphia in the 60s and 70s. That's the kind of soul I want to see.
All right.
I want to hear. So I think that I know it sounds strange that the Swedish entry, they dare to put Swedish pop touches and finishes on it, but I seriously think that's a problem. As you pointed out, these are three very, very talented singers here. And I feel that this song reins them in too much. I would like a sort of classic soul song that lets them just belt loose. Now, that being said, I do actually like the song. I think it's a fun song, but that is just my chief beef on it. Too much Sweden influence on a Swedish song, as strange as that makes it sound.
I know, it's okay. Sean.
So the first point I want to make on this, sort of separate from the song, is that when you look at the whole field of Melody Festival and this year, this was the clear standout to me. In terms of the whole field, I think it's an issue people don't talk about. Melody Festival, and it's getting quite stale. The acts that are there, they're all very well polished and they're all very well performed, but there's nothing alternative really. There's even the guitar entries this year were, like James said, had the Swedish pop touches to them. I think going forward for Sweden in Eurovision, that could become an issue if they don't address it soon. But having said that, this was the clear standout for me. It is like you say, a Swedish slick pop gospel type song, but it really works. The Mamas, they're very charismatic, brilliant performers. And they, given the opportunity to go to Eurovision, they could go far. They could really stand out and they could make a name for themselves. I could hear something like this on the radio. The performance is great. It does make you want to move. It is catchy, and I think in terms of Swedish entries lately, this is probably one of the more authentic choices that Sweden have actually made recently. A lot, like I say, a lot of the other performances and the songs, they are sort of polished and produced as a package, almost like a sort of robotic "this will win Eurovision" type package. Whereas this just feels a little bit more authentic and personable. So that's why I like it. But like I say, it was the clear standout for me from day one.
All right. Interesting. So now that you heard our thoughts, let's take a look at our scores. Before we look at the Team ESC United score, let's look at ours first, and then we'll go from there. First up was Connor, right? You were the first one. So go ahead. What's your score?
So my score really pulls in a lot from kind of what Sean brought in, was the authentic feel of this song. And I think that for once, Sweden was sending a song that they weren't gunning to win Eurovision with, if that makes sense. Like, I think that they were sending a song because this is a good song, not because, oh, this is just something that's been machine made to go to Eurovision and do well. And so that gave it a lot of points. I think that they have the vocal capacity to carry this song, which is the other really important part. And they have that chemistry. So for all of those reasons, I gave it a 10. So another perfect score from me. But it's because of the people who are singing it. If this song was given to anyone else, so if they gave this song to like the Divas, for example, from France of last year, it would not have been as good or as high of a score, right? Because it's the Mamas who pull this song off for me.
Okay, that's very interesting. And once again, I'm regretting going after you because I was thinking, should I give this a 10 or not? And I didn't in the end. And actually, James perfectly pointed out earlier why, because I feel as they were reined in a little. I feel as their vocals don't get to shine as much as they should be. I'll get a very tiny solo part, and then the backup vocals also are very loud. And I feel like, I don't know, they're giving enough credit here for their vocal contribution here, because they just almost like you cannot hear them. So I wish I would fix that a little. They did that better last year, I would say. But nevertheless, I still love the song, so I'm giving it 9 points. Still a good score, just not 10. That's why I hate going after Connor. All right. That's quite all right. James, what's your score?
Despite sounding like a grouch for most of my minute babbling on about how the Swedish song sounds too Swedish. I give this one a 7. It's still a good song, and as Connor said, it's purely on the skills and the talents of the mamas themselves.
All right. 7 points from James. I must say Sean. Now, Sean is next. What's your score?
So like I said, this seems like it feels like a really authentic entry from Sweden. Like I said, it doesn't feel like it's off the production line. I feel like they had a stake in this, the mamas themselves, and they really performed this well. I could hear this on the radio, and I think it is authentic, and it's catchy, and I enjoy it, and I like listening to it. So I gave it quite a high score for me. I gave it 8.
Well, that is high for Sean. So the mamas better take and run with it.
Yeah, for a song like this, especially.
Exactly, right? So let's move on to the overall team score, because there are a bunch of other people that have voted, and I'm ready to reveal that to everyone. Sweden's official score with the ESC United expert panel is 7.26. So, Sean, your thoughts? Because you were also actually technically above average, but you think that's about what you expected?
About what I thought, because I haven't, from what I've seen from the fandom, I haven't really seen too many people absolutely raving over the song. But I think a lot of people agree that it is a well-produced, enjoyable entry, and a good performance to boot. So I think a lot of people would have given it around the 7 mark, because it's it's a good entry, well performed, not exactly revolutionary, but I think the point sort of matches up with that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a really good score, breaking the 7-point mark. It's not an easy thing to do. I was expecting a similar score like that around that time area. But Sean correctly pointed out, it's not necessarily that it has a huge, a lot of amount of people putting in their top 5, but at the same time, it's also hardly in anyone's bottom 10 or anything like that. You know what I mean? It is either in the middle or higher up, and I think that's kind of reflected in the points as well. I don't know how that would translate into Eurovision success, but it certainly that seemed to be the theme here. Not counting the people that are upset about Daughter, but that's a different story. So I'm not too surprised either about that. So James, technically, you are the low baller. This one. Your thoughts?
This is about where I expected it to be, because even with the usual Melody Festival and grouches, the people who grouse on at that contest, even they liked the mamas. So I don't see any real hate about it. The people who give it the lowest scores is people like me, people who just give it in the middle and think, oh, there's more potential to this. So 7.2 is about where I expected it to be.
All right, there you have it. And now take a look at the current scoreboard, and it's right here. And let us know what your thoughts are by leaving your comments below, and we'll read them and hopefully also answer them. Unless you're mean, then we don't want to answer. But seriously, more videos to come. Hit that subscribe button so that you know when they're up. So we got to move on. So talk to you later. Bye now.